Hey, how y'all doing? My name's Ben King. This is my wife, Kristen. Want to give you an update on our experience with COVID or tell you the story of what's happened in our lives over the last month and a half.
Ben and I took our two daughters. We went on a cruise. We left March 9th. Came home, and a couple days later, I got pretty sick and actually went and got tested for COVID. That came back negative. I ended up testing positive for the flu, strep, and bronchitis, so I was pretty miserable. At that time, we sent both of our daughters to other family members. As I started getting better and recuperating from the flu is when my husband woke up and was running 102.9 temperature, was coughing his head off. He was really, really sick just as I started feeling better. Just kind of a little background. Ben is an extremely healthy 39-year-old man, former professional athlete. We work out, we run, we're in pretty good shape. So husband got really sick. I'm a nurse, so I was treating him at home through talking with his doctor over the phone. I was doing IVs at home, administering IM injections. We just assumed Ben caught the flu because I had the flu, so we were doing the same sort of medicine regime that I was on. It was about 3 days into Ben being really, really sick when he came out to me and said, babe, I have no sense of smell and no sense of taste. It was just gone. And then that was really the clicker for me that I said, okay, this isn't the flu. I think you need to go get tested for COVID.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, and it went downhill pretty quickly. I felt awful. The temperature kept going up. I just wanted to sleep. I really had no appetite, was nauseous, so was pretty scared too. So eventually I had to let my pride get out of the way, and I told her I think I need to go to the hospital. So we went to the emergency room the first time, and they actually sent me home because
his oxygen saturation, his first ER experience, while he was awake, his temperature was 103.9, and so his oxygen saturation was about 92%. And they said because he was not requiring any oxygen support, they sent him back home to recuperate. And so that evening he came home. The next day, he, just kind of little graphic here, he was coughing so hard that he was going to the bathroom on himself. He was throwing up.
Thanks,
Sorry.
Thanks.
Yeah. He was very, very ill. He wasn't that late afternoon, I went in to check on him again. And of course, at this point, we know he's COVID positive. He had been tested, and within 24 hours, we knew he was positive. So I was doing my best. I was wearing an N95 mask. I had gloves, and went into his room, and he wasn't opening his eyes. He was very shallow breathing. He wasn't really talking. And that's when I said, you're going back to the emergency room. So took him
And you
back.
said and you're not coming out.
I was pretty adamant that you're not getting to come home this time. You need to stay. So took him back to the ER, and I'm just so thankful that we did. I think that saved his life. Ben had that 15 hours earlier when he was in the ER, he had a small patch of left lobe pneumonia. When he was back in for his second little stint in the ER, it had already spread to almost his entire left lung. So he was really sick, and it was progressing rapidly. The ER is actually the infectious disease doctor called and said that we absolutely made the right decision by bringing him back, and things could have been fatal had we not, if we continued to stay home. So Ben did get admitted. He was there for 5 days. That within being in the ER, they had put him on IV Rocephin, IV azithromycin. He was taking the Plaquenil,
Can you tell us, so
hydrochloroquine.
just for the layman's term, for
He
people
was-
who are not nurses,
He was doing the hydrochloroquine and
the malaria
Z-Pak.
drugs that's been talked about. They got me
Yes.
started on that immediately.
Yeah, and they were also working pretty heavily on trying to get his temperatures down. So the first 2 days, his temperature stayed at almost 104. So,
And that was scary. So on that unit, they came in with full mask on, and they wouldn't let me have any blankets on me. They kept ice under my arms, on top of my head, in my groin, and that was probably the two of the scariest days of my life. I literally thought I might die, and so I asked, like, I have two kids. I have a 10-year-old daughter, a 12-year-old daughter, and a 5-year-old daughter, and I was like, please, God, don't let me die this way. People, the community around us, by this time, Kristen's videos were going viral, and the community just, there's an outpouring of support, not only to myself, but to my wife, and it was very humbling, it was very emotional, and it was, after those 2 days when I started getting better, it became more of a mental challenge for me, because there was other patients on that floor. There's 15 total when I was on the COVID unit, and so they had to attend to those patients. So I would go 7-8 hours without any human contact, and that was, for me, who's a very social guy, a very, very hard and humbling thing. And so I was begging my wife to let me come home.
So typically in the hospital, their discharge protocol was 72 hours fever free, so that way they're not coming from the hospital and infecting others. And the infectious disease doctor had actually called and said, hey, your husband's doing really well, but I think he's going stir crazy by himself in this room. So how do you feel about letting him come home, since you are a nurse? And so Ben came home. At that point, his temperatures were just a little over 100. He was feeling a little better. So we went ahead and he came home. I was sleeping on the couch and he got the bedroom. But he was, within a few days, he was getting up and feeling somewhat back to normal. Now, fast forward, we're a couple of weeks later, Ben is still having some residual side effects from this COVID disease. He's still having some shortness of breath.
Some liver issues, elevated liver count, whatever that is.
Liver enzymes are elevated.
There you go. So, and then we started off with very short walks. Now we're up to, I finally started running on Monday, but I still get winded very quickly. But I can tell you, I feel so much better. And we went a month without seeing our daughters, which was terrible. And so we have them home, and so that's good. And so life is definitely good. And the silver lining is just realizing how many people love you and care about you, and bringing the community close.
We feel incredibly blessed. We feel like God really used us to work through other people, to help others, hopefully not only to bring them to Christ, but how to deal with some really dark, difficult times through this COVID craziness.
And we talk to so many people who their loved ones are going through, like people are friends of friends of friends, and their husband or wife has COVID, and they ask Kristen questions, and we're doing testing right now. I'm actually working with the doctor to help test manufacturers for the antibodies test, because he's like, if I'm going to charge the community for this, I want to make sure we have the very best ones, so we have the right results. So, don't want to keep this too long, but just talking about how we move forward. We got to move forward. I think I was given, half the stuff that is supposed to kill you and half the stuff that's supposed to make you better, and I made it through it. And I think most people will. I think that we have to be smart about this. You have to look out for yourself, your family, and your community. Do the little things. Wear a mask, but we got to get out, and we got to continue living and not live in fear, but also be safe. And whatever you can do to help your loved ones and just to communicate, I think that's great. It's been, my daughter and I, it's been great being at home. We built volleyball boards together. I built one, and I'm not a carpenter, and someone saw it on Facebook and it went viral, and so not viral within our little community. And so we decided to build those for charity. So in 1 week, we built 25 volleyball boards and made over $1,100 for a COVID fund, at our church. So excited about that. So there's been some great things that have come from it. So I hope everyone, takes it seriously. It is serious, but we can make it. It's going to bring your family closer together. It's going to bring our community close together.
So I think that's what we all just need to be doing, is enjoying this time with our families, our loved ones, and don't take this time for granted, because before we know it, we're going to be back to running crazy and having full schedules again. But don't also take this lightly. When they're asking us to wear masks, wear a mask. There's no underlying government secret issue to taking an antibody test. They're not trying to take your blood. Take the antibody test if it's available to you to find out if you have those antibodies, so you're safe to go out into the community.
And I'd say we all have different views on this, and we have to respect each other.
Right.
And
Just
we gotta
love one
love each
another.
other. And let's not forget, when we get back to normal, how this was, so that we don't take life for granted. So, God bless everybody.
Live your life to the absolute
listen to our
fullest.
story, and we're from Dallas, so we're the Cowboys fans. So, so anyways, hope you have a blessed day, and take care.